Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to the Rising Comer podcast. I'm super excited to introduce this human who is coming in this space with us, inshallah. We are going to be able to connect and share some things with you all. Her name is Aisha, and I am super excited to hear from her as we will be discussing the topic of forfeiting your culture and identity. I'm going to pass it off to Aisha. Go ahead, please introduce yourself to everyone, the listeners, the viewers.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Kelly, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of the viewers and re-watchers. And, however is it that you come across this podcast? Kelly, you've created such a great space and you have such a great attitude to supporting Muslim identity. I think that's what I get from my work with you so far. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from you and make it very beneficial and give you tawfiq. It's not easy nowadays, to give your time for the sake of Allah, and I really respect that. Um, I I always find it difficult to explain what I do, so I capsulated it in a very simple, I think simple, titles. I'm a therapist and I'm Islamic therapist. I specialize in Islamic therapy. But before I decided to call myself that way, I went through a journey of being counselor, psychotherapist, psychologist, homeopath, natural medicine practitioner. I even graduated with Alamia course. And I couldn't help but feel that I need to follow the path of Quran and Sunnah and bring all that knowledge together and then work with clients. So that's why I'm calling myself Islamic therapist, because it just capsulates everything together. Not only that, I felt that I really want to be in the best position to know that I know how to help you or Muslim soul, whoever is coming my way. And I went on an adventure of research, which now is published in a book called Islamically Inspired Self-Development. Anyone can get this book from Amazon. That's how easy it is to access this book. Um, and then the journey didn't finish. I had all those clients telling me more explicitly, more implicitly that they need more. So now I'm having this great community of Muslim women, and we call it Islamically Inspired Therapeutics. It's a great community, coaching community based on principles of Islamic healing. So that's about me. Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for
about
sharing.
me.
Yeah, no, this is awesome because I remember when I came across your platform, I think the first social platform was Facebook. And then I read and learned a little bit about you, your biography, led me to your website. And then, we got to connect, alhamdulillah. Then I got to see some of your YouTube videos and learn more about you. And mashallah, like you put a lot of stuff there where I can connect with. And you also have a lot to share, mashallah. So I'm really excited to like tap into your knowledge and expertise in this area of Islamic psychology or Islamic therapy. And let's get right into it. I'm really looking forward to this. Again, the topic around forfeiting your culture and identity is something that I really resonate with because I feel like I've experienced that. But how would you, as an Islamic therapist, how can you say like a new Muslim person can take on a new religious identity, adopt new beliefs and practices, and still feel like they can be themselves and that their culture is welcomed within the Muslim community? What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
it's a great question for me, even on personal level, because I'm also a revert. For 20 something years, I was Polish, and then for next 20 years, I'm a Muslim. I'm British Muslim, right? So, so it's a great question for me on personal level as well. And there's always that the icky thing, when are you graduating with being new Muslim and you becoming fully fledged Muslim as a revert, right? Where is that cut?
Yes.
Yeah. isn't it? Because you always have that thing which raised you. It's a part of conditioning. You can't escape from conditioning. You always go back there. Yet when you are revert, after cheering you up and giving you all the free books and welcoming you in the mosque, when that comes down, you are faced with a real dilemma. Do I convert into a culture of my husband, because that's normally what happens, isn't it? And the
Mhm.
culture of my friends, or the culture of the mosque, because that mosque, they also have their culture. Or do I try to find my way? And for those of us who are brave enough to maintain our identity, or brave enough to reconnect with our identity after Shahada, it's not an easy path, because until today we don't have books. We have plenty groups, Revert support groups now on Facebook, right? Especially after COVID. But there's no manual to it. You sort of have to tread your path by yourself into finding your new you. You're reconnected with fitra, a cultural to Muslim culture you, and it's a really daunting path, and very dangerous if you don't have support. So I think my first, also personal experience, but my first advice to all of you who are struggling at that level is to find souls that you can connect with. And most likely they're going to be revert, but also most likely they're going to be sisters or brothers, if you're a brother, who love Islam, who love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way you do, who understand the values of Islam the way you can connect with them. So, really, what I'm encouraging you to do, what I'm encouraging you to take into consideration is that you have soul sisters and soul brothers out there in Ummah, and some of them they're going to be very obvious, very apparent to you, because you start chatting with them and it will feel like you know yourself for years. And some of them, they will come to you when you're ready to meet them, and when you're ready to meet them. So not straight away you will be in a position to create that new soul Muslim family for yourself. But I think this is very precious. I know so is very precious, you know, so because Hadith told us, right?
Mhm.
Ummah is like one body. So we are advised to stay together. And on a personal level, I remember I had the choice to live anywhere, and I've chosen UK. Why have I chosen UK? I've chosen UK because I was absolutely mesmerized by how community so diverse can live together. I've never had that in post-communistic Poland, you know. I've never experienced that. I was absolutely in love. And
Mhm.
mind you, I came to UK on many occasions, and I came to UK to visit UK as a non-Muslim, and I came to UK when I was Muslim. So that was my choice. And then I had another choice. Do I live anywhere in UK, or do I live with Ummah? And I believe until today that, and it's not perfect where I'm living. It's really not perfect Ummah. There's no such a thing as a perfect Ummah in 21st century. I think, we all grew out of it as a reverts. Until today, I'm pretty much sure that just because I can go on the streets where I live and I'm unnoticed, I'm blending into society, I'm not standing out. This thing is not standing out, right?
Yes.
I feel semi at home. I feel accepted. I feel blended. I feel integrated. It supports my iman. It supports my identity. It supports my choices in maintaining not only deen but also my psychological well-being.
Mm. So I'm hearing two things on a personal level, being able to, be in a group, being part of the community when you're adopting these new beliefs and these new practices. And then on the other end as well is finding people who love Allah, and value Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way you valued it. And do you think that also supports in going back to like feeling like you can be yourself? And do you think this is why reverts, converts, or born Muslims even who may be struggling with this, feel like they can connect with brothers and sisters who are on this stage of life where they're trying to feel accepted for who they are and
Oh,
in their culture.
oh, absolutely, 100%, Kelly. You see, uh, from uh, from the knowledge of developmental psychology, we know that we have certain brackets, certain hoops, or certain stages in our development, which we need to tick for the sake of our well-being, for the sake of our afia. And one of those hoops is belonging. And we all know what we, as by now we all should know, maybe I'm making assumption, but we sort of have seen it over and over again, isn't it? When Revert accepts Islam, they family, they defame them, they reject them, they disown them. So on the level of belongingness, on the level of having identity, having sometimes even physical home to come back, being loved by someone, they losing out a great deal. They losing out a great deal. And I'm sorry, when you get into the family in law, it's not going to be the same level of love. They're going to accept you, they're going to support you, they're going to welcome you, but they also going to expect things from you. This is completely natural, from our families in law, because we play roles. But also it's completely delusional to think that our husbands or our wives or our families in law are going to fill that gap in. And the reason why I'm saying it's completely delusional is because of, again, we know that from hadith, of this hadith that tells us that we as humans, as before we been humans, we as a being, we had been existing as a soul in the realm of souls. And this realm of souls is until today, I believe, organized in the most natural way. What is the most natural way? The most natural way is tribal way. If you think about it, if you retract in the history, we also used to live in tribal ways. This is the most natural way for us as humans to live. That creates security. That fulfills that need of belongingness. So,
Mhm.
so we've been living in the tribal reality where we've been loved, when we've been accepted, when we had our role to play, and where people were worshiping God and telling us how to worship God. And then we incarnating, the time is the time is clicking, right? The ticking, and we incarnating in this dunya. But we're not, and this is the biggest trauma. This is the biggest spiritual trauma that people don't understand. We incarnating into these blood relations. What are those blood relations in comparison to soul relations? Nothing. You can't compare it. It's darkness and lightness. You have to find your feet in it. And then as a revert, that was the story for me, and maybe for others reverts who are listening as well. You are uprooting yourself from that blood family, and you entering unknown for the sake of Allah. And very often we get so disappointed because we're not realistic enough. So if you go back to beginning of your creation, and you understand that you are first of all tribal, and second of all you are loved unconditionally by your soul mates, then everything makes sense. You need to find soulmates in this dunya. And I'm sorry, it's not going, like, I would say 80%, 80, some of us might be lucky, but 80-90% of the times it's not going to be your spouse. Again, please don't illusion yourself. Just be realistic. You connected, you've made a choice to be a spouse to this person, but most likely he's not going, or she's not going to be your soulmate. And that's another trauma and drama for us as a soul beings. You can create that family for yourself. And even if there's a handful of friends, like 2-3 sisters that you can always pick up the phone, or you can text them anytime during the night, that makes the world go round.
Hmm. It's so interesting that you're saying that because, oftentimes I think for me, I get told all like, constantly, especially when I was trying to find my footing, like you said, my way of like belonging as like a Muslim convert, that like lean into your husband, or it's a lot of the things that I'm doing is because I want to do it for the husband, or the reason why my culture isn't being brought in is because like the husband or the in-laws or like the friends that I'm trying to like connect with. And then the interesting point that you brought out, that it's most likely not going to be your husband who's going to be your soulmate, who's going to be able to bring that sense of belonging, as far as like not forfeiting your culture or like your identity. It's finding that through others who, again, what sounds like sees things or is going through maybe the same experience or has the same sort of common background as you. For example, like the values of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the experiences of going from like one place to another. What did you call it?
Blood relation and soul relation.
Blood
Blood
relation
family,
and soul
soul
relation.
family, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting how you're separating, distincting the two, and the why behind it. So I find that very fascinating. Moving to that a little bit about, coming and talking to like different people. What are 3 things that you think, Muslims, like born Muslims, who, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, who aren't struggling, born Muslims who've, really invested their time and have like a ground and a grasp, and, they're in an alignment in this community. What can they do to support a person, like a Muslim person who's going through this, so they don't forfeit their culture? For example, like for me on a personal level, I'm Hispanic, I'm Guatemalan, right? And I'm a Muslim convert. And Latin people in the Latin community are very hugging and bright, and they love to dance and they like music. And there's a lot of things that, get brought up that are like, this is not welcomed, you can't do this, that's haram. Like, so sometimes going through this experience of like converting, reverting can be tricky, and it can be really hard to hear, because you grow up knowing, I grew up knowing this is normal, this is okay, like it's okay to have a bit of fun and laughs and an interaction that maybe with the opposite gender, and have a laugh, where some women may view as like, that's haram, like you shouldn't even be talking to a guy, you can't be laughing. So how can other born Muslims or the Muslim community support those who are struggling and feel like they have to forfeit their culture?
Oh, you said such a beautiful thing, and you opened, a door to actually a 1 hour seminar, if not more, Kelly. Because if we're talking about cultural and Islam, they are not two the same things. What are the statistics? I think we have 70% of Muslim population being Asian. I think that's the statistics. And then we're going down, 30 they living in Middle East, and then we have like 15% or 10% or even 5% for Europe's, for for other Muslims. So we are very scattered, and we have so much to offer to each other in terms of culture. And I think born Muslims, what I would love for them to understand is to reconnect with Quran. And Quran says to us that I have created you from female and male, and I have put you into tribes that are we're no longer living in tribes, yeah. So you and families, so you can recognize each other. So those cultural differences that you're experiencing, you're coming from the background of very extrovertic self-expression, where movement, where sound, where probably verbal expression is not suppressed, but it serves as a way of communicating and self-expressing and showing care and love, and good time is part of it. I don't know where your husband is coming from, but maybe he's coming from more reserved culture, right? And then if we put Islam into it, if we put Islam into it, yes, we shouldn't rely on music, but we know that Prophet ﷺ allowed the drums. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that we know that there's that weak hadith, maybe even fabricated, but we still sing it, that children and people were welcoming Prophet ﷺ with chanting song, right? So it's all about finding that balance. We know that children develop greatly on music. What kind of music you're going to play? What kind of music is developmental music for children? Like me as a therapist, I'm not scared to say I prescribe music to my clients, but I don't prescribe pop music. I prescribe music sound of the nature, or music soul or holosync, something that is computer designed to lower your anxieties or negative thoughts. So we also, if we go back to Maristans, like hospitals which are rooted in Islamic heritage of healing, they used to prescribe architecture, music, right, and
Mhm.
poetry. You know, healing is a very wide and holistic thing. You can heal yourself. You can heal your somatics through different means than just talking therapy, something that we over rely right now, in 21st century. I don't know why we're doing it, but hey, that's where we are.
Yes.
So if you open that conversations with Muslims, because most likely born Muslims, they don't know their heritage. Suddenly, they realize that it's all about balance, and I have those conversations with my sisters, meaning with my clients, all the time. You need to sit down and understand that the culture that influence your husband and the culture that influence your wife, they are two different cultures, but you can learn from it. You can learn about yourself from it. So that's the first thing. I would love for born Muslims to understand that there is plenty to learn from differences,
Mhm.
and holding on rigidly to your culture, which is sometimes not aligned with Islam as well, right, is losing opportunity to grow as a person and to grow as a couple and to grow as a family. Now, the second thing that I want to, what would like for every Muslim, not only born Muslims, to understand that self-development is absolutely compulsory, and self-development is also part of worship. So it has to have a component of humbleness. And then again, we're going back to Quran. Perhaps what you like in her is better for you, and what you don't like, and what you like in her is bad for you, right?
Mhm.
So understanding that discomfort in embracing Revert's ways or Revert's culture or Revert's roots is not really about Revert's. It's actually questioning how you position yourself in Islam, how you growing in Islam, how you turning your self-awareness and self-responsibility into worship. Because if you're attacking us, and very often we are attacked by born Muslims as a revert, that is not Sunnah way. That is not prophetic way. He was always about Rahmah. He was always Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about empathy. So if you can't provide that, if something is shocking you in that cultural shock per se, then it's definitely about you. It's definitely not about the revert.
I love that. I love how you shared that part where you're talking about it not being the sun away, like coming from a place of like attack. And then what you also shared in the first point is what sounds like a different point of view. And even like just the words when you talked about sounds, how you would introduce, like, being able to embrace like and keep an open mind when you're learning someone's new culture, and then being able to also welcome it, but in a way that's like teaching someone. And that can open up the door to a relationship. That's what it
Yeah,
sounds like.
being open-minded, I think. Yeah. I mean, hold on to the rope of Allah, have your values, have your knowledge, always increase your knowledge, always revise Quran, always revise Sirah, always revise Hadith, but also be open-minded. It's never the case that you will know everything. And in fact, especially in relationships, um, there is that law of healing, which I'm going to introduce you to, but I'm sure you know it. It's just a reminder, Kelly, which is called mirroring. So we know there is that beautiful hadith saying that every believer is a mirror to another believer. Therefore, it is compulsory on you to mirror the bad stuff to your brother or sister so they can improve themselves. There you go. That's the proof of my previous point. Self-development is part of worship. Tazkiyah, purifying yourself, tarabiya, working on your character. It's part of your worship. This is what you eventually is going to present on the day of judgment. So if we're talking about this mirroring, if we're talking about exchanging ideas about you from another person, and you exchanging ideas about another person, it needs to be done in a very respectful way. And again, sunnah of the prophet, you don't do it in public. You only do it when another person is ready to hear it, ready to absorb this knowledge, right? And when you find the right way. So it should never come across as a guilt-driven or blame-laden approach. And unfortunately, that is not the case with our community.
Yeah, no, I can definitely I can feel that, because when you talk about it, it makes me think about my personal experiences, and I kind of want to tap into a bit one of your personal experiences, if you can share with us. You mentioned your revert. Was there a point in your life where you did struggle feeling like the need that you had to choose between Islam and the culture? And did that interfere with
Yeah,
your
it's a
journey with
very good
your
question.
self-development? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very great question. But I think with me, it was a bit of a reverse psychology effect, meaning when I embraced Islam, I had such a great amount of respect to every Muslim, to Muslim culture, although I didn't seen it from birth. I didn't understood what's coming ahead of me. That I've made decision, and I see it in many, especially Polish Muslims, but also Black community Muslims, that I completely rejected my culture. I've decided that everything was wrong or everything was haram. I done it for myself, right? So, and then I had to wake up at certain point and decided that I'm not going to be, I don't know, I'm not going to be Somali, I'm not going to be Pakistani, I'm not going to be Moroccan. I'm going to be Polish Muslim, and I will give myself, I'm going to give myself permission to choose what's right, what's pure and halal and beneficial in my culture, and this is something that I really want all the listeners to hear, what I'm going to say right now, because this is a gift for life. What I'm giving myself permission to choose from other cultures, which is halal, pure, and it's going back to Quran and Sunnah.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything in Sharia, everything, we know that everything is halal unless it's proven otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's proven otherwise. So I think with me it was a bit of a reverse option, where I mean a situation where I restricted myself from borrowing from my culture, and I love borrowing from my culture right now. As a professional, I because I also work with natural medicine, I borrow herbs from my culture and I share it with my clients. I borrow natural tendencies to heal yourself, or tools, or ideas. I mean, I was absolutely amazed to learn that hijama was practiced by Polish women. I mean, I'm descendant of most respected hijama practitioners. History speaking. So, the Sunnah was there already. How could it not, if the Muslim nation was traveling nation, expanding nation? How could it not? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's me. But I did come across people from our community and from my family-in-law saying me everything is haram. You need to be you need to be this, you need to dress that. You can't say that. To the point when I found myself relearning how to walk, how to sit, and I knew then in that very moment that I'm not enjoying Islam, that this is not what I came to Islam for. So this is what I want listeners to hear as well. You are born upon fitra. You are living your life to reconnect with your fitra. And what is fitra? It's knowing that God is your Lord. Is knowing that you're coming back to God and you're coming from Lord. And that fitra gives you pleasure, gives you satisfaction at the level of your soul. It is rekindling a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're finding yourself in Islam as a revert and you're not enjoying it at the spiritual level, you are not finding sakina, you're not finding satisfaction, that something is wrong, and it doesn't have to be wrong with you.
I'm so happy that you said that. Wow, thank you so much. Like,
My
all
pleasure.
this knowledge that you've shared, Aisha, has really again, it has really sat with me in such a warm way, because I think so back of like how it started for me, and again the conversations that I've had, experiences, and the struggle of feeling like I had to choose between the two, because that was something that I felt. And so I was so curious for someone like yourself, and I think just going back to it again, like how I hear it from a lot of people, is just reconnecting with the Quran and just knowing that it's okay to keep an open mind, and it's okay to like welcome what, you know, you were previously born into, having some respect for your culture, but also knowing where you came from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, you come from God, and God is your Lord. So I really, you just nailed it. So I appreciate you and all of that.
Pleasure. No, it's such a pleasure to be here on your podcast. You're such a special soul. May Allah Ta'ala give you tawfiq and help you to benefit others. I really enjoyed it, every single second of it. Thank you for having me.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for everything as well. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for your time. Those who are listening, thanks for listening. And we are going to be sharing some links so you can connect with Aisha. Everything will be in the description. If you have any questions, comments for her, you'll be able to connect with her on her social. Again, she also has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend checking it out, and her Facebook page as well. And Aisha, any last words for the listeners?
No, I can't think of any last words. I should really, isn't it? I mean, it's probably about reverts, isn't it, today podcast? So if you are revert and you are reconnecting with any of those advices slash experiences, first thing comes first, you're not alone. And second thing is find your soul sister and find your soul brother. Find the mosque which is filled not only with angels but with your soul brothers and soul sisters, because family means a lot to you as a human, and it meant a lot to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That is the first point of finding solace and re-establishing your identity.
Thank you so much for saying that again. Again, there's a holistic view from our expert Aisha, our Islamic therapist, psychologist. Inshallah, you can connect with other human beings from this platform. And for those of you, inshallah, you'll be able to gain some knowledge and some different perspective and open up your hearts from this conversation. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.